In the last video I made, we did the A section of for Elise and talked about how it's a rondo. This is the one that everybody knows. It's like, right? But in this one, we're going to look at the next section. So after we finish this, then there's an alternate section. It's the B section of the rondo. This is a 5-part rondo. It goes A, B, A, C, A. And in early rondos, you can almost sort of say, well, it's one little theme and then another theme and then another theme, or one section, another section, etc. But as the rondo goes in through the classical period and into the romantic period, and Beethoven's a transitional composer, we find that the A section is no longer just co-equal in terms of length. It becomes its own piece, which we saw here as being a 2-reprise continuous unbalanced ternary piece. For what that's worth, you can watch the other video if you want. And the B section here, the first alternating section, is a sort of piece in its own right. I think of it like the B section, or the second theme in a sonata form. Gives us an alternative sound or a palette cleanse to what was going on in the A section. And eventually I'll probably do a video on the second alternating place, A, B, A, C. And that's not even hardly a section in its own. It's more like a transition, retransition. It's got this A pedal point that's going on, but that's enough for there. The other thing is, we talked about this earlier in the other video, that these pieces, when you figure out what key you're in this case A minor, you draw this little box here. You say I'm A minor, then my relative major is C major, right? And then go +1 sharp, E minor, G major, +1 flat, right? D minor, F major. And these are the areas that the alternate sections tend to, not 100%, but tend to like to go to historically. And that's what we're going to find here as we enter into the next section, is that we're in the key of F right here. And I'm going to just do quick little bits of analysis here for you just to begin with. This is an F arpeggiated chord right here, right? It's an F chord, F, A, C. And here is a B flat chord. And here, although it doesn't quite look like it because we have this pesky F there, it's really just an E, G, B flat. I don't know that we'll consider that there, but this would be like an E diminished triad. And if you want to, you can call that a C7 at that point, but yeah. And then we're back to an F chord. And if you're here as a first-year student, or even a second-year student that wants a reminder, the left hand in these sort of piano things, especially when you can see these structures, really help you know what kind of chord you're on, right? Like the right hand has all the notes, and they're implied in the way that the melody is written, the chords are, and they can, that if you just can hear it, you'll know what chord goes with it. But if you really actually want to look for things, when you see these arpeggiated figures or Chopin doing chunk, chunk, chunk kind of things, you can find the chords more easily by looking at the left hand. Here, as we drive to a cadence, because this is a new section inside this B part, right? The chords are going to change a little faster. This is something we learned, that the harmonic rhythm, i.e. the rate of change of chords, speeds up a little bit as we go to cadences. And this here is an A minor chord. And this here is a D minor chord, right? And this, you want to look at the right hand here and combine it in with that. It's a C chord, and that's a G7 chord right there, right? Okay, and then it's a C chord right there. That's the first half. And let's just talk a little bit about what's happening here and how it's happening. So the first thing is we finished up our A section with that, this, that's over the bar into here. And so immediately for the B section, we're going to change our melodic motive, our style, our texture, everything. But we also are changing key because it's a new section and a new key. And so I want to just show you, this is an important motive to Beethoven here. How do you suggest a new key? Well, it's all 5-on-1 chords. 5 chords drive this. So C, E, it's incomplete, but there's my B flat and C. So this is an incomplete, right? C7 chord, which is my 5-7 with the 2 inversion. If you're doing Roman numeral inversions, right? Figured bass. This is the 7th here. And then that's going to resolve down. Here's a 1. It's in first inversion. And then another C chord right here. This is a C7 again. This is an F chord right there. Right? Am I off the page? Oh, gee. I'm off the page. Sorry about that. It's an incomplete C7 chord right there. 5-2. F chord following it. 5-1, 5. And this is got the 5th in the bass, so it's 4-3. So, I mean, it's kicking off something very different, but immediately to our ears when we go, right? And now we're at the second ending there. He wants to say new section. He says, listen, dominant, tonic, right? Dominant, and that's enough to set us up right there. You know, I'm going to noodle through some of this because I think it, you know, everybody knows the A section. Not a lot of people. Well, lots of people know the A section. Disproportionate number of people have never heard the C part. So we were in A minor and we do this 5-1, 5-1, right? And then we get this little it's measure 28. And I just want to point out he's playing all the games here. So he's playing little anticipation games, but this is an anticipation to like an appoggiatura, or in this case I guess this is going to be a suspension, right, because it's an anticipation of the thing right there, and then here another anticipation to a note. It's a suspension right there. It's a cool little thing. But this is my 1 chord, and this is a 4 chord, but it's in 6-4, and so we're going to look at this and see that the F hangs out here and hangs out here and hangs out here the whole time, even though this is a 7 chord, right? And so this is a pedal chord and this is a pedal tone. It's essentially the same thing, right? Like that. He's playing this game to really establish you're in the key of F by floating the F the entire time, even though it inverts the chord and makes it unstable, and it's not even part of a chord, and then it comes back out to my 1 chord there, and that's my first phrase. We've seen this very common all the way back to Bach, where your first phrase of a piece, and this is a little mini piece, will have a pedal tonic note to say to you subliminally, subconsciously, at a very subtle level, you're in this key, right? And now, once he's done that, he says on my next phrase, I'm going to change to another key. And if you look, our choices, you know, are going to be in this area, right? And if we go G7, there's my dominant. It's the 5 of C, right there, right? So it was an F, you know, it's like, look, we immediately switched to the key of F right there, right? From here. And then here, we're in the key of C, right there. And this is my 5-7 chord right here. And if you look at the inversion here, the G is in the bass. This is a 1-6-4, or so this is actually just the dominant chord here. It's a 5 chord, right? And since we know we're changing key and this is my cadence right here, let's go back as far as we can and think of it in the key of C. There's basically a pedal chord that happens, or pivot chord that happens here. So, but this is a chord progression that should make sense in the key of C. So this is my 2 chord, yes, and the D right there, right, D, F, A. This is my 2, which loves to go to 5, right, because this whole thing's a 5. And this is my A minor, which is a 6, which loves to go to 2, circle of fifths, Nice strong cadence. And this would be my 4 chord, and I think this is probably, the 1 chord. We're going to hear it like this, and then you're going to hear this as your pivot chord, which is 3 in the old key, and it's a 6/4, right? Inversion, okay, equals 6 in the new key. So 3 in the key of F, right, equals 6 in the key of C, right? And then we cadence. This is a perfect authentic cadence. It's kind of funny, like root here, proper 5/7 chord, root there, and the root up top here. And so this is a PAC, perfect authentic cadence, coming to right here. Guess we're in C at this point, right? The reason why it doesn't feel like the ending is because of the texture, and because this is what we call an elided cadence. And what we mean by that is that rhythmically the cadence arrives here at the same point where the new phrase picks up. So although harmonically it's all set up, and even timing wise you can hear it's a cadence. Like if I play from here, you can hear this, and you hear the same minor chord, right? And then the D minor chord, and then you can hear the 1/6/4, right? But because, and so that's a very final cadence, but because the rhythm here doesn't say and stop and then something else, but in fact this arrival is the beginning of that elision or elided cadence. It still has forward motion, plus the rhythm doubles up and has a completely different texture and piece right there. So we go from, and then it just takes off. Something is buzzing on my piano. I don't know. Okay, it's fine. Yeah, you can hear that. Something. Don't know what that is. It's not your problem. Sorry. So we're here and we go, right? Does it again. And then it does this to get us back to the A. Okay? So it's a 2-section thing. First half's in F, the next part's in C. This is, yeah, I'm not sure what we'd call this. It's kind of binary, or here's a piece plus a transition section to come back. But I want to point out a couple things. We'll stay in C now. And sorry, we'll go into red now because different keys, so you can see stuff here. This is my 1 chord right here, right? And what he does is he just arpeggiates down and then does a melodic scale up, right? And this is a alternating pedal point kind of note. It's the dominant note or the 5th note in the scale, which is nice because it can alternate between 1s and 5s because of that, right? And if you look here, take a look at this. This is the same figure that went on up at the top right here. It's the same thing. We have same rhythmic position. This is a G, B, G, F. It's missing the D. It's incomplete just like this one, but it's a G7 chord. It would be a 5/2 because the 7th's in the bass. Here's my C, E, G. That's a C chord, but it's in first inversion, 1/6. So it's exactly the same as right here, right? And then here is a G, no B. It's, it's implied from earlier right there, but D, F, G. This is a 5 again. It's a G7, and it's in 4/3 position. So the idea that he used here to get him into the new phrase, he incorporates in the middle of that right there. And he'll do it again over here as well, right? And then a 1 chord, C chord, right? Here is a chord right there. Here is a chord, and it's making a cadence to here, which is another C. It's the same thing as here. So this is my C chord, 1 chord, jumps down, scales up. This is my 5/2, going to my 1/6, going to my 5/4/3, going to my 1 again. These little cadences that punctuate. He's doing this. He uses this idea that gets him in here is a pushing motive in here. Let's take a look at this right here. We have an F, A, and so it's going to be either like an F chord or it could be a D chord because we're heading to a cadence. This is a 4-5-1 or a 2-5-1, right? This is my 5 chord right here. G, B, D, F, right? 5-7. C is 1. And if we look here, there's no presence of a D. So this is just a plain old 4 chord F, G7. It's going to do the same thing here, right? So we're going to, down here, it's going to cadence exactly the same way. It's going to go C, it's going to go F, it's going to go G. But instead of going to C again, because we're going to get out, he says, well, A section is in A minor. That's where we want to get back to, right? And so how are we going to do this? Well, he's using a chord progression and using it as our pivot, which is A minor, which is the chord we want to go to, is a 6. This isn't really a 6 here. Don't pay attention. I'm just explaining this. And so if you go 4, 5, 6, that's a deceptive cadence or a deceptive progression, right? And so that's perfectly legal and quite cool. You'd go like this. You go 1, 4, 5, and then 6. Okay? And then what he does is he throws an E chord, E, G sharp, B, which is E, right? And that is the 5 of A minor. So it's not uncommon to have a chord progression go 1, 4, 5, and then 6, right? And what they do sometimes is they go 1, 4, 5. You've probably heard this, but then they'll roll through the 5 of that 6, right? To get to the 6, to give more emphasis to the 6, right? In this case, he's doing that, but then he doesn't go to the 6. He prolongs this 5 chord here of A minor, right? The E chord, so it goes 1, 4, 5, and then he goes to here. And holds that there, right? And he noodles around against this note, right up here. And allows our ears to dissipate and no longer hear the original key of C. And it just becomes a 5 of A minor and pushes us to A minor. And that's what's happening there, right? So this is 5, 6 because of inversion of 6. But then this whole thing becomes just 5 in A minor because it gets drug out. And then, you know, after you've done that, right, you go. Then he just noodles again here at the beginning, like he would at the beginning. And then we're back. So he's using time to distort your sense of what would have been a normal, fun progression in the key of C to retransition us back. This is what we would call a continuous piece of music, in that it starts in F, but it doesn't ever cadence the first section in F. It's already changed keys on there. So it tells us it needs to keep going, and it never returns to F, so it never caps off as a section. And you know, it's like 2 little pieces squished together, a little piece in F, right? And then this fun transitional piece that gets cut off and then takes us back to A minor again, right? Really is just a palate cleaner so that you can get, you know, it's like drink of water, so you can taste the A minor again and go like, oh yeah, I like that because the piece is coming back. I think the one criticism that people have of this piece is that there's not enough stuff like this, and so we get this piece plus all its repeats. We get a quick change, and then we're back to exactly the same piece again. And then the next section, the C part, which I'll do in a different video sometime, is not even, it doesn't even have enough identity like this. It really is just like you sit there on an A pedal while you hit these other chords, right? You're like, okay. You know, so it's fun. foreshadowing the A coming back, right, the whole time, and then it's got an A arpeggio and stuff. It's barely a piece. It's more like a transitional or retransitional section. Anyways, I hope this inspires you to listen to and learn the other part. Fairy Elise is supposed to be appreciated as a 5-part rondo, not just as the famous A section. So it's charming. Both of these are to play. The melodic counterpoint and things like that is really good, and it's fun to to get out of the F major section where you're like right, and then you're just like it's fun to play that. It's good. Sorry, twisting one way while looking at the score the other way. Okay, have a great day. We'll talk to you later.